Hello and welcome to the Gazette discussion for 2nd August 2021. My name is Harsh Singh and this discussion will contain many interesting articles, discussion from the Gazette magazine. Now, discussion is divided in two videos. The first video is on featured news, which is on free trade agreement India is trying to have with the European Union, and we will understand how the domestic firms usually get impacted with these kind of agreements. We will also understand the repercussions, what are the issues with it, and how we have to find a solution in this same regard. So this is in the first video. The second video will contain the rest of the articles for current affairs, which is about this day in history, Pingala Venkaya. We will understand some important things about Pingala Venkaya and also related to Chempaka Raman Pillai, important name in Indian history. We will understand about them here. Then we have new snapshots, 3 important update articles on e-rupee and innovation in terms of education through Academic Bank of Credits. A beautiful article here. And then whether vandalism is allowed in the parliament or not. Supreme Court's judgment on this. Image of the day is on Neelakurinji, a flower grown in Shola Forest region. Terms and concept, Biotech Pride, a bio database. And then we have something related to sun. This is called as near surface shear layer of the sun. Some new innovations here and understanding of Indian scientists here. Chrysalis drip, this technical term. And then we have Chempaka Raman Pillai. Right? Editorials of the day. 2 important editorials. One on RBI and participation in green economy. Right? And the second one is on the second generation reforms for India. The case study of the day is on apology. Whether one should ask for apology for something that was committed in the past, whether they are chiefly not responsible, even then is apology good or not? So let us start the discussion. We have dedicated this day in history to Pingali Venkaya. Now this is the man who actually is credited for the tricolor. He is the one who created the tricolor. He was born in 1876 on 2nd of August. So this is the day we have dedicated to Pingali Venkaya. This question has been asked several times in several examinations, and that is why this name is very relevant. Who is the one who is responsible for the creation of the national flag, right? So he was the one. The first snapshot is on e-rupee. What is e-rupee? It is a payment solution, online payment solution. So e-rupee, right? Here, rupee will be given to the people, the beneficiaries online through a voucher. So a code will be given to you on your phone by SMS. All is required is having that voucher, and then it can be linked to various kind of payments where we have to apply these kind of vouchers, right? We need not have a bank account. We need not have an app. All we need to have is the SMS, right? So this is what is e-rupee. Now, it can be utilized when the government wants to give subsidy to people, when it wants to pass on welfare schemes, for example, medical welfare schemes, right? For example, subsidy in fertilizers. So these kind of things can be passed on. Even corporates, right? If a company wants to participate in donating money to people or giving them money for some particular reason, it can just pass on this e-rupee voucher. That is all is required. No app is to be required, no bank account is required. People can actually make their payment through e-rupee. And now that is why Ministry of Health is also a part of this, because some of the health scheme will be implemented by the government with the help of this particular thing, right? So this is what it is, digital cashless payment, right? The beneficiary will be identified through their mobile number. So mobile number is mandatory, where the particular voucher will be given to that particular person, right? So some certain schemes which can be actually utilized and made more efficient are mentioned here. Now this is an important step to progress towards central bank digital currency. So this is one of the steps to leading to these kind of digital currency, right? So e-rupee. Now this is what is in news. Also, this is an important step towards good governance. So this is an update article here. Snapshot 2. Snapshot 2 is on Academic Bank of Credit. Now, this is a very important step to ensure that blended learning also be a part of education system. So what happens here? Now, if I am a student and if I have done a course here for 2 years and the course was designated for 3 years and somehow I have shifted to another city, will I have to come back to complete my course? Not necessary. I may be a part of another university, complete my course there, and I get the credits of that particular university attached to this course, right? So 2 years here and 1 year here, and I will be able to complete my particular course, right? So this is what is called as Academic Bank of Credit. The credit of this particular year will be transferred to credit of this particular 2 years, and my course will get completed. This is what is the blended learning that we also spoke of several times in the previous snapshots, right? So this is what government has implemented right now, right? So this is a part of national education policy where the education system is going to be more flexible for the learners, right? Now, here the bank will be created, academic credit bank will be created for every student, and the student will not be the one who is managing this bank account, right? Only the institutions, those higher education institutions participating will manage. Yes, student will approve whether my credit should get transferred while I get transferred to other institutions or not. So this is making the whole system of education very much flexible, right? So student ID will be created. This is a step towards blended learning. Accrual means now they'll be given to that person, given to that student, they'll be accrued, they'll get deposited in a particular place. So this is what it means. Up to 50% of credit can be earned from outside that particular university. So this is a very good step, right? So we have VLab, virtual labs, Swayam portal where 9th to 12th class access, equity and quality education is provided. So this is the main theme behind this, right? So institution A, institution B, transfer of credit, and this is how the person will be able to complete their education, right? So credit transfer is the key to successful study mobility, right? Beautiful innovation by Government of India. Snapshot 3 is on parliamentary immunity for vandalism, right? So vandalism is breaking and meddling with the public property, right? So sometimes people indulge in violence on streets, riots, etc., right? Breaking of public vehicles, police vehicles, torching of the buses in the public sphere, right? So this is vandalism. Can parliamentarians vandalize the parliament or the state legislature? So this is where Supreme Court has come in and said, no, it is not justified. Now, it is important to note that in Article 105 and Article 194 of the Constitution, it has been given that parliamentarians and state legislature members will be given more fundamental rights. They will have more rights to speak in the parliament. They will have more liberty in the parliament, right? And the state legislature. Also, they have collected larger scope of freedom. So this is what is mentioned in the Constitution. But do they have the freedom to vandalize the property in the parliament or state legislature? In fact, this is what had happened in 2015 during a budget speech when one of the members of the state assembly in Kerala, they indulged in vandalism. So the state legislature is trying to support them and say, no, this is a part of the wider scope of the liberty and freedom they have got under the Constitution, right? But the Supreme Court says, no, this is not how it happens. They have to maintain a dignity and they are publicly responsible. There is public trust, and vandalism on the assembly floor could not be equated with the right to protest or freedom of speech, right? So no protest can be through vandalism. This is what the court has mentioned. This is the update article regarding the same. Now, the image of the day is this flower, Neelkarunji. This grows in the Shalom Hill region in the south of India, right? So what is special about this flower? This grows, this blossoms once in 12 years only, right? This is the most important feature about it. And the Nilgiris, Neel word, right? Ever wondered this Neel word, where has it come from? It has come from these Neel flowers, these blue mountains, right? So Nilgiri mountains have been named through these flowers, right? Also, an interesting fact, Palyan tribe, right? These are the tribes which actually calculate their age through the blossoming of these flowers. So 12 years they blossom and they understand, yes, they are 12 years of age. Primitive tribes from South India, right? Also masting. So masting is the mass breeding of the seeds of this particular tribe. So masting is the process of mass breeding. These are the Shola forests of this particular region, right? So these are the tropical montane forests. They are also not very, very big, right? These forests. Also, you will see these big grasslands between the forests. This is very specific to Shola forest, right? So rolling grasslands with these forests. This is what is Shola forest, and these are the Palyan tribes. Moving to the next article. The first term and concept is biotech pride. So what is pride? Now, biotech pride relates to promotion of research and innovation through data exchange. This is happening in the field of biotechnology. Now, all the important data and research data that India has, India wants to store it at a particular place, right? So it will form biocenters, biological data centers, and it will integrate all these biological data centers in the form of a grid, right? So that this networking helps all the institutions in the country. This is the main requirement, right? So, for example, we have got solar grid, we have got electricity grid, we have got national knowledge network. This is another grid, right? India's data to be utilized only in India. Biological grid. Now, this is the news. Near surface shear layer NSSL of the sun. Now, Now Indian scientists have started to study the sun also, right? Now they have understood that there is a near surface layer of the sun which has got different features, right? It is not revolving as fast. So because of this studies of the near surface sun layer, they have understood that this is one of the responsible factors which actually causes sunspot formation, solar cycle, right? So when sunspots get formed here, there is a cold region here, and this also impacts the radiations. So all the solar wind get impacted because of the presence of this kind of revolution, right? So Indian scientists have studied this particular region, and they have concluded that this particular layer is also responsible for the solar sunspots formation. So these are the solar sunspots, right? Now these are the cool layers, right? And therefore, because of this cooling, the impact on solar wind also differentiates, right? So this is the main thing about solar layers. Snapshot 3 is on CRISIL's deficient rain impact parameter. This parameter is more important than only understanding variability of rainfall. Why? Because this parameter also talks about not only about the shock of the rain, how much deficient rain will be, but also talks about the vulnerability of the place, right? How much impact will that cause on that particular place? See, at a place, if rainfall reduces from 200 to 100 mm, right? So this will only cause a huge impact. And at places where it reduces from 75 to 65, it will not cause much impact. So vulnerability of a place is also equally important than how much is the deviation. And this code, that is why it's very important. So do remember DRIP in terms of the variability of rainfall, also formed by CRISIL, right? Okay, the fourth term and concept in use is Chempaka Raman Pillai. He is known to have an argument with Hitler during the times of the First World War, right? Now, this is the man who is responsible for the slogan Jai Hind, right? All the soldiers and civil authorities, they salute each other. Jai Hind is the salute, and this is the man who is responsible for the salute. He was an aggressive nationalist from South India, and he participated in a lot of international plans to fight Britain for liberty of the country. Editorials of the day. The first editorial on RB is on RBI's role in green financing, right? The article starts by talking about green swan risk. Now, this green swan means those kind of climatic risks which can actually cause a major impact, right? The sudden climate change impact on systems, right? This is where the article says that there are two kinds of risks for us. One is the physical risk, and the second one is transition risk. Physical risk involves those kind of risks, sudden impact of climate change, and there is a physical infrastructure damage, and then insurance payment and loans, etc. Right? Transition risk is the risk which is of the brown infrastructure, the already formed infrastructure, and the risk in transiting to green infrastructure and institutions. So the whole process of transition can also be a risk. So this article speaks of two kinds of risk. The article also says that India is among the top 10 countries, most vulnerable countries with climate related issues and index, also released by German Watch. So top 10 most vulnerable countries for climate risk, and the article says that there will be catastrophic impact on the country if this kind of transition is not smoothened, right? Especially the transition risk and the physical risk, right? This is where the article says that RBI has been a little slow in the change. However, the article says that it is good that RBI became a part of networking for greening financial systems. So do remember this important technical word. The article also talks about Adani and Ambani Industries, which have said that they will reduce their emissions to net zero in the coming time, which is a very good thing. The second editorial is on the reforms, second generation reforms required in India. The article talks that corona reforms are only temporary. However, we need second generation reforms which are towards tax, labor, finance sector, power sector, land and agriculture reforms. It has not provided details into these reforms, just named them, but it has also said India must have some caution while reforming these institutions, because we have a very complex nature of mechanism of working. There are many participants. Also, the spirit of democracy must be maintained. That means opposition must be an important participant in these reforms, and details must also be a part of it, right? So this is what the article is about. Case study of the day. Today's case study is on the apology which has been driven by the New Zealand government, specifically by the Prime Minister of New Zealand. She has apologized for the crackdowns in the country in 1970s. So dawn raids happened in New Zealand in 1970s, where the illegal stays in New Zealand, they overstayed and they were deported. Now, this is important to understand why a country must apologize for its deeds in the past, so that trust trust deficit can be reduced. Victim mentality of the incoming population is reduced. The wrongdoings of the past are corrected. Do learn honesty, remorse, conscience, and accepting apology even for the past mistakes is an important part of being a good human being. Thanks for watching.